Okay, thanks for being here. So we're going to discuss really kind of the first kickoff meeting for the Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan for current year 26, but funding year 27. And I'm going to start by bringing up a slide deck slideshow and re-blue everybody or refresh everybody on what ICIP is all about, some strategies, et cetera, embedded in there, and how some of this works. And so I would like to direct your attention to the slides. We'll have some fun with this, and we'll go through this piece here for familiarization. And then after that, I'll turn it over to Joe for the Excel spreadsheet that has current projects on there, and we'll talk about some of those as well. So please direct your attention to the first slide, read the introductory slide there, and then we'll segue over to the next one, please. Fundamentals, next slide. Let this come up. So please take a look at the definition and purpose of the Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. You could substitute that P for program if you wanted to, because it's an enduring thing. You see the purpose on the first line to the top right. We have to do it. We're required. It's a 5-year plan to identify, prioritize infrastructure needs for municipalities. We're going to continue to do this because that's just the way it goes. It's a law in New Mexico. Coordination and updates. Now, annual updates, even though it's a 5-year plan, allow us to do a few things. So when we are awarded monies for something and that project is funded and completed, it comes off the plan because it's already done. Or if we're awarded phased monies for a plan and a phase is done, we move that phase forward from phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera, on the plan itself. And so we keep track of that. And it also tracks funding and investment roles, and it provides guides for capital investment and enables municipalities to seek federal and state funding. Now, here's the thing. You can seek federal and state funding without having something on an ICIP, but your chances of getting it and your competitive ranking are much, much higher if you have it on your infrastructure capital improvement plan. Next slide, please. Next slide. The project components. Whenever you put a project on the capital improvement plan, you have to have the project description, and you see what goes in there. You have to have the financial planning that goes along with it. And if it's a very expensive project and it has to be broken down into phases, it tracks that financial phased approach as well. And then you have to record that as you move through that 60-month period or 5-month period. You have to determine what funding sources could be applicable, not just capital outlay, but when you seek a project and you're seeking capital outlay funds in the state of New Mexico, you're required through the ICIP to put what other types of funding could augment this or you could use, including your own general funds, federal funds, other grants, and other programs to put that in. You put that in the ICIP so that it gives you a higher competitive probability of competing for some expensive projects when you can combine funds and track those as well. Plus, it also tells a little bit of the truth. Is this solely a capital outlay request, or is this a request that can be combined with other funding sources as well to complete a project? And then the projects are ranked by priority, which include timelines, operational costs, and descriptions of community benefits and sustainable outcomes. So not only do you put it on there because you want it, but you put on there why you need it, what this means to the community, what it means if you don't get it, et cetera, and where it ranks on the things that you need for the community. And that's a huge part of what our ICIP working group does. It ranks and racks and stacks those priorities, and it also racks and stacks them with a strategic approach to seek the capital outlay funding possibilities. Next slide, please. Significance of the funding process, we'll talk a little bit about that. So role in the funding. ICIP guides legislators by providing a transparent framework for evaluating project readiness and community relevance. Competitive advantage for projects, you can read under that. Long-term planning assurance and intergovernmental communication. So keep in mind, this ICIP, when we put it together at the city level, we rack and stack it. We send it to NMDFA. It basically goes on public record. Now, a couple of things happen. We can look at it and we use it because it's our plan. Our legislators use it to defend their positions and champion for money and stuff like that for us as they move forward and work on finding funds for these capital outlay projects. Federal granting sources or loaning sources, et cetera, they look at this as well. And any project that we approach them with, they want to look and see if it's on the ICIP. And if it is, we have a greater competitive advantage of securing those funds. But another thing that happens is this becomes public knowledge. So contractors, engineers, vendors, salespeople, and other, they look at this as well. They start coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, I see this is on your ICIP. We make those, or we do that. We can sell those, provided, et cetera, those types of things. So it goes out there and it basically gives everybody who needs a look, and some who probably don't, a one-shot portal where they can look in and see what we determine as our requirements and our needs and our potential asks, and they can all weigh in on that. Next slide, please. So we start to get in a little bit closer to home here. The connection between infrastructure capital improvement plans and capital outlay in New Mexico. ICIP can be seen as an eligibility list. You can read under there. The legislative funding process, legislators use this plan as a to sponsor validated projects during competitive outlay funding sessions like one that's wrapping up now. It identifies project readiness and priority. By looking at this plan, especially phased plans, it tells legislators who would help us secure money where we are in a phased approach to a plan. And let me give you an idea on how that works really quick. If we break up a plan into phases and we move forward and a legislator decides to back that and fund it, phase 1, we are highly likely to get funding for phase 2 and 3 and 4. Nobody wants to invest in a municipality. Nobody wants to invest in a project and have that fall off the edge of the map. Once they invest, they're more likely to stay invested in it. So this is extremely important to understand. And also the ICIP provides long-term 60-month and out years as you start to go from 60 months to the next 60 months, et cetera, on oversight and monitoring. So if somebody does provide us money for a project, and then we go and we start making that project happen, they can look in on the ICIP as we make adjustments to it or move forward through the different FYs and phases of a phase project. They can see what phase we are in a multi-phase project, because as we update this annually, that update to the annual and phased project has to be updated as well, so they can see where we are. And one, they're able to monitor their investment, but two, they're able to decide whether they want to further invest it and complete the project, which is completely important to those who would fund these types of things. Next slide, please. Couple implications here, and we start to get into the what are we going to do, and Todd, this includes you. What are we going to do as a working group? What are we going to do as a community to start to strategically approach our infrastructure capital improvement plan? So that first one I highlighted it. Obviously, our city, it uses ICIP to prioritize infrastructure project, enhancing chances for legislative funding and support. It's not enough just to throw these on a list and say these are important to us, or we're going to go get them. There's a very strategic approach to doing this, and we'll talk about the strategy and the tactics of getting some of these a little bit later. But if you are familiar with that trifold, we take a lot of pride in that little trifold, even though it took a couple times to get it. But we put some things in that trifold, somewhere to the tune of $750,000 and somewhere to the tune of about $150,000. That was a strategic approach of kind of fishing in different ponds to see where we could get something to bite. We were perfectly willing to take a lower funded project or a high funded project, but by spreading the wealth a little bit, some of them were plans, some were designs, some were vehicles, et cetera. But what it looks like already, we're receiving some positive feedback by applying that strategic approach. Although we haven't seen anything solidly, it looks like we've already secured about $1 million of the projects that we requested, which is pretty substantial. So there is a strategy to doing this, and we will continue to reinforce that strategy as we move forward as a planning and a working group. The project readiness and funding, we talked a little bit already. Leveraging multiple funding sources, we kind of talked about that already, but we're going to continue to do that at the local level, and enhanced coordination and efficiency. So as we talked about on the very first slide, very first line, ICIP guides multi-year investments in interdepartmental coordination to prevent project duplication and inefficiency. We didn't talk about that part. By having the thing clearly outlined in a format and as a working group, moving it forward and putting this in front of our legislators and other eyes, it ensures that we don't do duplicitous funding requests when it's unnecessary, and we don't start multiple projects for the same outcome, and which is unnecessary. Next slide. Strategic process. Take a look at this real quick. All right, what it should have, what it shouldn't have, more or less. It should include all infrastructure related requirements identified by the city. So this means little things that don't cost that much, and it means very, very expensive things that cost a whole lot. If it is a requirement for the city, and we've determined that through a working group, a board, or anything else, something obvious, a building falls apart. If it's a requirement and we need to replace it, if it's a requirement, it needs to find its way onto the ICIP. Then once it's on there, we talk about strategies and tactics to get that funded. Number two, expensive infrastructure projects should be phased over years. Now, all of our projects need to be on there. We talked about that. But you get a higher probability of success when it is in a very sweet spot of funding, i.e., most of the capital outlay that you see directly as a result of the legislative session will be about $500,000 per project or less. So when it's spread out and it's multiple, it's $1 million, multiple millions of dollars, we need to take this and break this down into smaller chunks. Now, that's not to say that capital outlay is the only funding source. That's to say by breaking it down over years, as you have seen in things like the Blackwater well field, Lime Street tank rehabilitation, etc. Those are broken down into multiple phases, plans, designs, construction phase 1, construction phase 2, construction phase 3, because we're more likely by breaking these down into chunks on the ICIP and representing them and asking for funding to get $5 to $10 million at a time, as opposed to seeking $34 million for a single project, one and done, for a few different reasons. But very expensive projects, we need to break down into more manageable chunks that are more easily defendable when we move forward and ask to fund these types of projects. When we do move forward and ask for funding, we have to identify additional funding or grant opportunities that could or would, let's go back to where that was, please, that would or could fund that as well. So it's truth in lending, right? Literally truth in lending. We have to talk about what we're asking, but also other sources that could fund that as well. So we might do a multi-funding approach to getting a project done. We have to keep that in mind as a working group too. Now we start to get a little bit closer to home. If we're specifically seeking capital outlay as the priority funding source, i.e., we know that the Water Trust Board will probably not fund a street sweeper. We know that a street sweeper probably won't be funded by a federal grant. So we start to narrow this down and go, you know what, if we want a street sweeper, we either have to pay for it with Portales general funds, or we're going to request capital outlay funds for it. If we know that capital outlay is pretty much the sole source that we're going to seek for funding for a specific item or project, we need to keep the following in mind. A one and done project is the preferred strategy, and that's right out of ICIP 101. I don't know if there's an ICIP 101, but there's a training module for it. One and done projects are more highly tenable than a phased approach to getting something done by capital outlay itself. Items that are $500,000 and less are more likely to get funded than items that are over $500,000. Items that are more than 100,000 are more likely to be funded than items that are under 100,000. So for capital outlay itself, there's a sweet spot between 100,000 and say 599,000 or 500,000. And keep this in mind. Anything that has to do with water or water related will probably get knocked down when approached for capital outlay, as we've already been receiving directions. Anything water related, move that to Water Trust Board. Okay. Move forward to the next slide, please. The funding pipeline. This is not funding a pipeline. This is the steps to get funding done. The city develops and adopts its own ICIP. It updates it annually. The city submits ICIP to DFA no later than 1 July 2026. That's the first deadline window. Joe will talk later about a correction window and things like that. ICIP becomes the official list of city priorities used by legislators during the legislative session. Legislators sponsor capital outlay funding for specific ICIP projects. The capital outlay bill is passed, money's allocated to the projects, then DFA administers the funds through PARs or caps, and Joe can talk about that system. Next slide. All right, let's see if we're paying attention. Don't jump ahead unless you need to. What span of time does the ICIP cover? Show of hands. Anybody?
5 years.
Somebody? I got hands up. Does that mean 5 years? Okay. 2 counselors behind me, 5 years. Anybody say anything different? All right, 5 years it is. Great job. Awesome. Why do we update it annually?
Phases.
It's required. Things change.
Phases of the project.
Phases of the project move forward. All of those are correct. Anybody want to say something incorrect? Anybody got anything else to add? Todd. Playing the Jeopardy song in my head. Okay. Whatever Todd said is correct. All right. Who develops the ICIP? Todd, you're out of this one. The city does. Todd, in your case, the school does. All right. Number 4. Who's Luke's father? Darth Vader. Okay. Why is strategic project prioritization important? That's back to that strategy, that sweet spot, 500K, 100K, breaking projects down into phases. By a strategic approach to putting your projects in order and prioritizing them, you become more competitive than those who don't. So the committee itself, this is really what we're going to do moving forward. I wanted to give you the background to this, but I also wanted to tell you what we're doing and why. By taking all these things considered and looking at this and understanding that there is a certain element of competition to this. There's a certain element of expertise to this, and there's a certain element of getting more of what you want to this by putting the right things at the right place at the right time. So our task really is to not come to a meeting to go to a session of meetings. It's to go to a meeting to understand this. And then as we move forward, we work together to put the best prioritized approach together with our projects and requests for the highest probability of having funding and backing by our legislators. Okay. Does ICIP provide funding for Portales? ICIP does not provide any funding. ICIP is a plan that gets listed for others to see, for them to back requests and track and monitor what we have requested, what we've been allocated, and what we're doing with the funds that we were allocated, et cetera. Okay. But it itself does not provide any funding. And then when is the annual ICIP update due? July 1. This year it's July 1, 2026. It could move next year, but you're not wrong. July 1st, 2026. Okay. Any questions thus far? We're getting to the end here. All right, next slide. Infrastructure prioritization. This is the city manager's recommendations. Okay. These are recommendations. I'm the city manager. I'm just recommending. I recommend that the Public Works Committee identifies the 2027 and 2028 infrastructure priorities, meaning Public Works Committee is already working on prioritizing roads and things like that. I believe that as a committee, they should crunch the roads, the parks, solid waste management, and cemetery issues and prioritize those based on their expertise. Then I believe the Water Advisory Group identifies the 27, 28 infrastructure priorities as they pertain to water, wastewater, and reclaimed water. Then I believe the ICIP committee takes the feedback from the Public Works Department Public Works Committee and the Water Advisory Group takes those inputs into consideration. And then as a committee for ICIP prioritizes the 27-28 infrastructure items not covered by the two agencies. And then takes the two agencies' feedback and the things that weren't covered and racks and stacks all of those inputs in that strategic implementation recommendation process. That's what I believe. Then the ICIP committee chair or a representative from this group, non-elected official, presents that finding to the city council and governing, the governing body for acceptance and approval, consideration, approval, acceptance of that year's ICIP. So I believe the experts in the public works field rack and stack the public works items. The experts in the water field rack and stack the water items. Then the ICIP committee, i.e. working group, takes all that information together, racks it and stacks it with the other things that weren't considered in those two agencies, and brings it forward to the governing body for consideration and approval of the ICIP. That's what I think. Okay. Next slide. Additional recommendations. We team up with ENMU in Roosevelt County, and we look for those productive crossroads where there's power and synergy and multiple agencies looking for the same types of projects. So we team up with our partners in town to make a more comprehensive and solidified request as we go forward and seek funding via our ICIP and other our ICIP inputs. They would seek funding. We engage legislators early with our top 10 list. So if our submission date is 1 July 2027, our window for correction is a couple months after that. But once that is solidified and we've locked it in and we all verily believe in what we've submitted, we immediately start to engage legislators with that, as opposed to waiting until the legislative session to start talking about it. I believe we focus on complete projects or completing projects. So to make ourselves more competitive, we look for projects that we can complete in the one and done format, or projects that we have phased out over years and we're ready to complete, and we get those higher on the list and we market those to our legislators so that we get the backing to be competitive with those. People like to be heroes. People like to put things to bed. People like to get things done. And I believe we should capitalize on those wins. When we move forward and we put something on the ICIP and the capital outlay request, if we do not win it, I believe we go back to the legislators after the session and talk about how we missed that, what caused us to miss it. Was it something we did? Just it wasn't in the cards or whatnot. But let us identify the wins. But let us also identify the losses so that we can redirect or capitalize, or even just put it back in the queue. Because if it's a requirement, it stays a requirement. But one thing I don't believe is we should just wait till just before the legislative session to start talking about capital outlay requests and marketing our own city, our own university, and our own county. I think as soon as we solidify these requests, we start doing that. And if we don't win something, we go back and in a very, respectful manner, we engage in dialogue on why we didn't get it, so we can redirect and have a better competitive chance of getting that in the future. And then 5, let us be where the legislators are going to be. Okay. So again, this is back to that session. If we know things are going to happen and our legislators are going to represent somewhere, let us have someone there and we talk with a unified message. We know what we're talking about because we have put this together. We prioritized it, and at every opportunity that is palatable, i.e., we're not going to be brats about it, but when the opportunity presents, we will continue to talk from the time we submit this to the time it goes in front of our funding support partners. And we will continue to talk that we put together early so that we represent all year long with marketing Portales, as opposed to just a specific time frame in the calendar where everybody's doing it at the same time. So that once we identify it, we lock it in, it's codified, we immediately start working with our representatives to carry that message throughout the year. Okay, next slide. Second quiz. Do water-related projects belong on the ICIP?
Yes, if it can go through Water Trust Board.
We have to put them because they're a requirement. We put them on the ICIP, but they have to be on there for Water Trust Board to look and see that it is a requirement. But we don't market it for capital outlay, and we realize we don't go to other funding sources for water projects. Okay. So it's not a trick question per se, but anything that's an infrastructure requirement has to be on the ICIP. But if we're gonna, in this working group, if we're gonna fight over getting a water project on our top 5 for capital outlay, we're wasting our time. So it goes on there and it goes in that year, but it goes lower priority on that year. So we have a higher probability of securing it. Okay. All right. Name the TV character who wore rainbow suspenders and lived with Mindy. Anybody have a different answer? Okay. All right. Kelly, I can tell you're completely impressed. I'm not sure. Okay. What do legislators use the ICIP for?
Well, we need.
Sure. It's a portal, right? It's a window. They look in and it's advertised. They see what we need, what we have listed as requirements. Okay. And that really goes for everybody. What do salesmen look for? What do legislators look for? What do loan agencies who would fund us with loans look for? What do federal granting or grantor organizations use it for? It's basically the same thing. Okay. Why didn't Ross ever date Monica? Brother and sister. Yeah. And we're not good. Anywho. All right. What should Portales do when infrastructure requirements identify a very expensive project or requirement? Split it up into phases, right? That's right out of 101. Should vehicles or requests for funding of vehicles be on the ICIP?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Finally, in what town does Bart Simpson live? Well, one answer was Portales. There might be a Bart Simpson in Portales. I don't know. Springfield. Lives in Springfield. Next slide. Okay, so here's a timeline. Joe, would you like to talk us through the timeline real quick?
Okay, so new projects can be created until midnight on July 1st, 2026, because that is whenever we have to have with resolution signed by council. Our projects put into our CAPS, which is the software and everything that we use with DFA. After July 1st, the only things that can change are the scope of work, the legislative language, and the budget details. Those sections can be changed, but no new projects can be put into CAPS after July 1st. And our resolution is saying, yes, we want to participate in ICIP. If we do not get that put in there, we are not participating. All of this can happen until November 1st. After that, no changes can happen until ICIP reopens again, which it reopened a couple weeks ago, I believe.
Okay.
Like three weeks ago, something like that. And then whenever we're looking at next year's legislative session, we're looking at January 2nd is whenever legislation may be pre-filed. January 19th is opening day. February 18th, deadline for introduction. That's important. The in-between time, March 20th, session ends. June 18th, effective date of legislation, not a general appropriation bill or a bill carrying an emergency clause or other specified date. So then everything should be taken care of by that point and we would know more information.
Thank you. When I first looked at this timeline, I was confused because I thought February 18th deadline for introduction. Well, it opened on the 19th. How do we get the cart in front of the horse? Then I was reminded next year is a 60-day session as opposed to a 30. So several days will go by and legislation will take place with one kind of thing, and then submissions for ICIP and whatnot can be, projects can be put in as late as February 18th. On that deal. Just wanted to familiarize everybody with
They actually
the
put a bill through, or I don't know how far it went, but they were trying to change them all to 45-day sessions.
How fun. Okay, okay.
Do away with the 30-day. Sounded a little. I don't think they want to do that. You know, but same number of days, it's just that you're cramming everything into the 30-day.
I think they postponed it because they're gonna wait till the 60-day session to talk about the 45-day session.
Yeah.
That's not true. I made that up. but- Okay, next slide, please.
When are you wanting to bring this before council with the ICIP?
That's a good
So we're gonna bring it to council whenever all of this is solidified. Hopefully we can do it, wanting to do this like beginning of June to maybe end of June.
How long will it take before we know what items off of this list are gonna be awarded this year?
So
This year. So
Like the street sweeper, if we actually get that, then it'll come on, something else will move up.
we'll find out whenever the governor finishes signing everything.
Well,
Mhm. So once she signs, then we'll know more on solid answers.
Just
really by April or May, we should be able to kind of form some stuff together.
100%. So here's what I'm proposing as city manager. I'm proposing that we take the things that are on the list in front of you. All things that fall in the category of public works infrastructure that were identified. Those move over and we give the same or similar brief to Public Works and give them the tasker. When I say Public Works, I'm talking about Public Works Committee. We give them the tasker of start to rack and stack those things. Anything on that Public Works list that falls off on March because it was funded of this year, then it'll be replaced with a hierarchy and we'll crunch that. I believe that the Public Works Committee can do this within the next 30 days or so. Same rinse and repeat with the Water Advisory Group. So give them the tasker of all things water to look where we are and rack and stack that and have that ready to go. Then as this working group, I believe we will be able to identify the things not water, not public works related. We can do that as a working group in this level, rack and stack the non-PW, non-water items, bring those together as 3 groups, and then look at it and rack and stack those and find their strategic approach. I believe we can do that in the next 45 days.
You have a question on that?
Yes,
Do we
ma'am.
want to, whenever I departmentalize the projects for prioritization, are we wanting to keep those out of order so that they put them into the order that they want without looking at prior order? Or do you want me to go ahead and keep the order of priority that they are in right now?
If it's my preference that we stick with the order that we prioritized from last year and then have it relooked, et cetera. If it's a requirement last year, unless the city has changed, it's probably a requirement next year. Okay, so, and this is just my recommendation. It would be to leave it racked and stacked the way it is, make adjustments. If you want to, if you want to move it all the way around and readjust everything for cause, then explain the cause. That's fine. No problem with that, because it's only a committee is only going to be a recommendation. So when it comes forward with recommendations, they'll explain why. In the same kind of ask, the Public Works Committee will be asked of, like, giving an anecdotal example. Last night, city council meeting, a councilor asked, who decided Lime Street? Moving forward, I believe how this will happen is on Public Works and other issues in that committee, we will ask for what is your recommendation of prioritization and why? Primary feeders, Globe Street, 18th Street, Kilgore, et cetera. And my intent is to receive a prioritize work on Globe first. This is just hypotheticals. Globe is priority 1, Kilgore priority 2, 18th priority 3. Here's why, et cetera. Moving forward, then the plans are developed around those. And then they move forward so we know where we're going. It's no pun intended, but that becomes our roadmap for all things to where we know where we're going in the future. Same thing with ICIP. Those plans as defined by prioritization should go into the ICIP with the same prioritization, right? When we leave, we should, as city representatives, have a common operating picture. If one of us is ever asked in an elevator, the old elevator speech, hey, if Portales was given $1 million today, where would we put it? If it's somebody who just came in to work at the animal control shelter, animal control, or if it's the city manager, the answer should pretty much be the same. Because once we get to that fidelity of being right and we we disseminate that information, we all understand where we're going forward together as a city, then it doesn't matter who somebody asks, we have a very similar answer because we know where we're going with their purpose and direction. That being said, I'm going to go back to answer your question. This is what I believe. I believe they should start with already pre-prioritized list, and they have the freedom of maneuvering it and changing it, but they have to defend why they changed it. And that defensible posture has to be presented to the city council when the movements have been done. Okay. Thanks. I hope that answers your question. Okay. And then the last slide was questions, which we're kind of entertaining right now. So any more questions on the floor of anything we covered? Bart Simpson lives in Springfield. Luke's dad was Darth Vader. Monica and Ross were brother and sister. And anything else? Oh, Mork and Mindy. Anything else important? Okay, I'll leave it with Joe if there's no questions. Thanks.
You want me to go there?
I don't know if it works out.
Okay.
Okay, so how many of you are super confused whenever you looked at the Excel spreadsheet? And it's very, very much okay. Okay, so one, I'm so sorry that it is very tiny. I swear, if Liliana lets me, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of magnifying glasses. I'm just gonna pass them out at meetings like this, so everybody can actually see the words. Okay, so whenever you're looking at this, there is a key, and each page is a year. So there is a color-coded key. And I have to hold it up to look at it too. And then there's notes on the right-hand side. Now, some of the projects that don't have any color, those are already put together without really having to do a lot of changes, unless you all see things that need to be changed.
Can I interject for a second? I'm sorry. I can't see that far, but the tab you're on right now is 2032.
Oh, can we jump to 2028, please?
Yeah, let's do that. And that now 2028 tab should be what's in my hand.
Okay,
Is that's the question?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that should be the top that you have. Yes. Okay, so, and then Chris, if you scroll to the right to where you have notes. So you have, okay, so we put in some notes here. And it's gonna tell you, we need to lower each phase cost by adding in other funding that we could use. So whenever you see that kind of thing, that means that this project is very, very expensive. And even whenever we phase it out, it's going to be too high of an ask. So we need to make sure that we are looking at other ways of funding it as well, whether it's general funds, grants, but what kind of grants? Because whenever I put that into caps, it does ask me in the budget, what kind of funding? Like, who's it from? Is it EPA, NMED? Is it DFA? Where is it that we're getting it from? Is it GROW? Is it fire funds? What are we looking at? And some of them, I don't know. So y'all got to help me out on that, please.
You have any way of getting my thoughts?
We
18th Street is basically our main drainage. So if we could tap FEMA funds for that part of it.
okay, we can put that into that area on the budget. We can write that down. Thank you. Okay, so whenever we're looking at this, we want to look at where we are. We want to look at what projects have been done, what projects have partially been done, and we need to write those down and get those back to me, please. So that way we can put those in appropriately and our numbers will look better. Because whenever it says already funded, I want to make sure that I have the right information in there. And then we want to look at what are our future priorities. Do we have any new projects? That's kind of really important because after July, we can't put any new projects in there. So knowing and understanding the criteria for the future, what do we have? What can we add? Looking in the past, what have we done? Are there things that we can deactivate? Are there things that have been on there for a very long time and we're not sure if they've been done and I need to look into them? I can do that. Put a question mark on it. That's totally fine. And then I want to hear from y'all. Go ahead.
You got any notes of what the project is besides this different?
I do, and if you, can you give me an example
Number 25.
in 2028?
Yeah. It's just an example, but it's like the house up the hill, so with.
Okay. So that one is on, it's that neighborhood with the Yucca. It has, what are the streets? G, Yucca. Where is that neighborhood at? Yes, I can put it over into the notes to help us to understand a little bit more. What did I put in here? Because it has been asked before.
Yeah, it was asked, I just asked the water guy, they're like, well, I'm not sure what it is, so.
It's,
I think if we,
it's
I
the,
don't know, build a file or something for each one.
yeah, it's
Especially
the,
for the bigger projects and see what the scope is of that project, it probably helps out. Like for me in water, I'm gonna get to learn all this, but
mhm.
if I'm not here and somebody needs to know exactly what that is. We can go with past few weeks.
We can definitely do that. It's the sewer system. It's older and it backs up a lot.
So, just basically a replacement.
Yeah,
So I
sorry.
think, like, some of the projects are like that, like the softball things.
What is
What
it?
exactly we're gonna be doing there, or what is this money supposed to be for?
Mhm.
Like that, I think that'd be great to know.
Well, and that's one of our questions that I do have that is on there. I had that question also myself.
Can you tell me what?
What is the narrative?
Sorry, can you tell me what 15 is? Wildland urban interface?
That's
That's the style of fire truck, the full structure of fire and wildland. That makes sense.
Well, yeah.
It's just a new term, movie that ride, that is being thrown around.
Is there opportunity to just put another little column that says fire truck?
Yeah.
Next to it, so that. Something simple to signify, and then if we need more information, we'll look at the notes.
And get it more specific identification as far as the type of drug or something that makes it clear.
Mhm.
So I have a couple of questions for you, Joe, maybe one question, suggestion.
Okay.
So is anywhere on here anything to do with this one? Or is this the wrong spreadsheet to put that on?
That's on there.
I can't see this. Okay, so other potential sources for that. Could we find out if anything to do with youth engagement? Might come into play? Can we find out with anything to do with ADA? Like therapy, therapeutic type situations. And can we find out anything to do with senior involvement, senior health? Outside of just what the swimming pool.
I can look into those.
Okay. Tomorrow.
We do tomorrow night.
That's why I'm asking now.
Yes,
So depending on how that goes, that may change. We'll, for feedback from the city.
it'll at least possibly change the narrative.
Most likely not.
That's all I can say.
So the swimming pool will not be a one and done town hall.
Sure.
So tomorrow night's, and we won't take too much swimming pool time on this, but tomorrow night's, swimming pool presentation was a town hall. But the supporting slide deck on it is very open. It's very, what are your thoughts on all things from swimming pools to splash pads to, sword fighting with a pool noodle, I think is on there. But just to get the dialogue started with the community on all things swimming pool. So the data collected from there will refine the next pool town hall, so we'll start to kind of refine and get a feel for after the data collection.
Okay.
So it probably won't change this, is that.
Before we get into that city pool thing. We need to have information of
what exactly is wrong with it?
Well,
Who actually did the numbers on putting together what it's gonna cost to renovate it? Those type of things, because those are gonna be asked.
mhm. We do have some data. And whether or not that comes out tomorrow night, that's actually, I'm gonna leave that up to
Yeah,
Mr. Mitten.
well,
if
the
the data
data's
comes
there,
out,
we should go ahead and
Or
have,
if it's just gathering from the,
we'll have the data for cogent answers on that, but,
but yes.
keep in
I do
mind,
have-
it is a town hall. It's for opening dialogue, et cetera. It's not for beating up the city staff or anything like that.
Understand.
But it's to open up dialogue, get a feel for where the town may want to go in the future with swimming pools, aquatic activities and things like that.
So I have the data. I don't have specific persons that collected data. Other than I've collected data from engineer companies and I have those engineer companies.
How old are the estimates quotes? I mean, because we can figure it's probably gonna be 20% higher, 25%.
I
Wait,
recently asked for some new ones.
Or you did? Okay,
So we'll see how new it is that they decided to make it. Did they project for the future? Did they project for now? You know, how much percentage did they mark it up? I'm not positive.
Just one other thing, I think I missed it whenever you were talking about the colored ones, the ones that weren't colored were what?
They're pretty much okay where they are. Kind of like, let's look at number 16. The Portales Fire Department brush truck. So 450,000 and 400,000. If we need to combine that as one big purchase, then we would need to put like other funding in there, but separately, as like phased purchases or whatever, one for equipment, one for the vehicle, then those actually work in numbers. And we wouldn't need to break it up anymore. TJ?
That's where I struggle with it on this, because you're not gonna be able to phase out of the fire.
Mm-mm.
And it may just be a situation, capital outlay is not an option. For purchasing that truck out, for equipping one,
Mhm.
and so on, that's all well and good, but we can't guarantee there's gonna be additional funding. To supplement that extra 450,000.
Okay,
So,
And it-
okay, hold, I would like to defer Mr. Minton on as far as, I don't think anything but the fire department needs to be on 2028.
Okay,
I think we need to focus for us on time. So that we can develop that rhythm of what we.
but I would like to use, Chief Kathy's comments as an anecdotal example. When we sit down as a group and we start to find a strategic rack and stack approach to get the most probable funding. Like TJ is saying, like others are saying, you can't buy half of a fire truck,
Mhm.
but you have to have the fire truck on the ICIP. You following my logic here? So it's gotta be on there, but knowing you can't buy half of a fire truck, the tactical approach to getting funding is to not put that request as your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's non-tenable, it has to be on here, but put that on here, but put it much lower than the things you can win. Does that make sense?
And
Otherwise, we go forward saying we need this is our top one, fight for this, and it's not gonna happen. Yes, Council.
how long do they let you extend the money out? Don't they have a time deadline on it for? You can't go over a year, can you?
yes.
You can hold it.
Whenever you get capital outlay, they usually give you 2 years. They used to have 3, now it's 2. And then if you need an extension, you just have to give them a really good reason why. But they like for you to, in order to actually receive your funding, they like for you to expend it or have it encumbered within the first 60 days.
Yeah.
After signing and having an executed agreement.
Can you tell the examples of why you would not get money spent if they're giving you money?
So sometimes when you order a garbage truck, it takes a year to get here. And whenever it takes a year to get here, or a water truck or anything similar like that, we can't expend that money until we receive the product. So we wouldn't be quote unquote spending it for a year or more, but we have encumbered it. So that's positive. And we can do that.
Now, on something like this, procuring a truck and having it outfitted, Mayor, I think that one would be an easy explanation and wouldn't be at any risk of losing the funding. We would just say, look, the thing was procured, it went to Albuquerque, it's getting outfitted, et cetera. But if we did something like a plan, design, construct, and that was awarded, we'd send that over to engineering firm ABC. And then the ABC is backlogged, they're not doing it, the design's not done, the plan's not done.
Mhm.
Now we're falling behind, we're past the obligation year, getting through the execution year. This one is non-tangible, it's. Now we're in trouble because,
Mhm.
That's more of so what I was asking.
yeah,
The backward situation is understandable, but, you know, I know there's other circumstances where we had money and literally either lost it or risked losing it
100%.
because we were.
We need to be 100% ready to go at our level. If we are approved for funding and then the funding is allocated as a fund site number, et cetera, however it works. We need to be Johnny on the spot, get that out for bid if that's how it works, get that allocated to a engineering firm and get that done. Every day we sit on it or every day we table it in a city council meeting. Every time we do that, we ourselves are becoming our own enemies and getting closer and closer to losing the funding. But almost more important is losing brand equity and becoming bad, bad investment for risks. So if a contractor is gonna fall apart, that's bad, and we need to help them get better. But if we ourselves fall apart, then we're our own enemies and we can't afford to do it. I think that it kind of lets you.
I guess why I was asking on the non-colored ones, the white ones, is that on number 4. We've got purchase, transportation van, animal control and renovation of animal control facility. We got a new animal control facility and we got a van that was donated to us. Is it not functioning or?
I'm gonna let Kelly.
No, so the van is completely functional, but we're donated, we're to have built-in kennels, so you can't actually like put a cat carrier in there. So these are more like taking mass transports to Albuquerque or Santa Fe
For like rescue stuff.
for like rescues. So we can only use the kennels and they take up majority of space. And then the old building that animal control was at, we retained some of that. Keeping it for quarantine areas, the dangerous dogs, sick animals, the dementia area. It's in pretty rough shape, so the rehabilitation would be for that whole area.
Okay.
Kind of feeling like as I look through these on column C, that I know, Joe, you have some more fidelity on these, but I kind of feel like we have to go through each of these and write out a fairly cogent description on what that is. So when the Public Works Committee and the Water Committee and others go to rack and stack this, they get a stamp, we're standing by with the presentation going, this is what this means.
And I agree with you because like I was saying, I also have the same questions about the softball complex. Okay, I mean, that was a great example. What do we want done with the softball complex? What do I need to write into the narrative? Because what's there now is older. Do we still want those things? Have those things been done? I'm not positive. So those are the things that I come to you all that have been here longer than me. Hopefully,
We want reuse water used.
yeah, I'm gonna write
Oh,
this
what?
down. I'm gonna write this down.
What is it?
Reuse water.
Reuse water used on the field to irrigate it. It's not good.
I guess the rough spot I ran into was because it's been out of use for so long. When Little League started going out there was like 8 sprinklers on multiple fields.
Yeah, so. Yes, the water going out there, we can't use it yet, but I think I'll start bringing this to our public work museum, because those really good phone. So we can help you catch to ICIP.
Thank you.
For you, that way when you get asked a question. There it is.
That sounds fantastic. There's a couple more that I've marked that like needs attention. And some of those are because of the narrative, because I don't know if the narrative is up to date or not, because I'll look through it and I'll go, okay, I didn't read that narrative. Are all of these things still true? Like, oh, there was one I looked at just the other day. And the it has coordinates on it, and the coordinates are very, very wrong. I put them into Google Earth and wound up in California. So, yeah, if we could look through and the ones that say need attention, that's because the narratives are not entirely correct.
Curious, IT, is there a way we want to file share or build all this and then the groups can look at each file?
Like a SharePoint?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would always have the pass out things and everything else, it's all right there for anybody to sit and look at it. But if somebody asks anyone, the council member or anybody else, what something is, they can access it.
Okay, and you can put like notes off to the side and everything too, like little note thingies.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Is there a course like file share for guns?
I don't think you'll need it.
You don't know me.
Are we about to lose Todd? Do we need to let him talk? And then, I'm not sure. Who is Todd and what does he do?
Well, that's it. Todd, did you hear that last part?
I absolutely did, and I'd be more than happy to respond. And I've enjoyed the conversation so far. My name is Todd DK, and I'm the Government Relations Officer for Eastern New Mexico University. Just a little background on me, if you haven't heard it already. I've been with the ENMU system for about 20 years. I was at Eastern New Mexico University, Roswell, for about the last 20. And in a variety of roles. I left there as their vice president for operations, and I oversaw capital projects, IT, a bunch of other things. I've done a variety of roles there, but I really appreciate the invitation. I really believe that we can be stronger as we work together, as Scott's mentioned in his ICIP presentation of creating sort of a top 10 list of priorities. That's the kind of thing that if you have something like that and you can share with me and we will share ours with you as well, that if I'm out and about, if I'm at the legislature or with others, they don't want to talk about education all the time. And I will have the opportunity to let people know, or if I hear things that are related to needs in Portales, I can pass this along as well. I currently, I now have a house here in Portales. I've got vested interest in this community. And I'm kind of selfish. Where I want to live, I want things to kind of improve. And it's not only in my best interest, but it's in the best interest of, my children and grandchildren and stuff as well. I think a lot of the time, one of the things that Scott mentioned too, we can't wait for the legislators to come to us. We've got to ask for what we want. It is sort of the squeaky wheel that gets things done. The other piece I want to mention is I believe there's $7.1 billion out there right now that has not been spent, that's been allocated to a lot of municipalities and colleges and a lot of other things. And it really irks our legislators, especially the people in the Senate Finance Committee and the Legislative Finance Committee. The key to building a good track record is they give you the money, you spend it, you show them how you spend it well, and guess what? They're more likely to give it to you the following year. A lot of the time, we've got to be able to ask. And I just think that our interests are linked between Eastern New Mexico University. We want to grow, and we'd like the city to grow along with us. We need to be equal partners on a lot of things. And I could probably go on and on, but I'll shut up. So thanks for inviting me and listening to me today.
Thank you, Todd. Yeah, great.
And I'm also in this role too. If you have any questions related to the university, I'm sort of the point of contact for external state, federal, and other type things. If I don't have the answer to a question, I can work with the people internally on the academic side of the house, on the student services side of the house, because we want to be good neighbors. And that's really important to me. So thank you.
What's the best way to get a hold of you? Email, phone?
Email's the best. It's todd.dk, D-E-K-A-Y at enmu.edu. And my cell phone number is the best way to get a hold of me. I don't even know how to check the answering machine on my phone very well. So my cell number is 575-910-5875. If you have any general questions or anything else, please don't hesitate to call me. I'm involved in a lot of other things throughout the state as well. And I've passed along, I've got a history of doing things with grants. And if I see things that I think, hey, this will fit for the city, this won't fit for us, I will pass, and I have passed a couple of those things along as well. And I would continue to do that.
Well,
Great,
thank
thank
you. And Todd he has passed a couple of things on to us that he has seen, and that's great. We appreciate that. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, don't, I just want to say thanks for the info, Todd, so.
No, you're very
Brandon?
welcome. And I really do. I think that the road you're going down is exactly how I think it should be done, is you're getting the input and creating a, like top 10 list, and you track it, and it's, you're transparent. I didn't even think about the step that you have to present it to your city council. That absolutely, it broadens the number of people that know what you need, and it formalizes it. And, it looks like there's some things already that you're getting that's on some of the Senate bills, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed the governor doesn't scratch things out with her pen once everything gets through.
Does anybody else have any other questions or suggestions or anything you just kind of want to throw at it?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment. Did I cut somebody off? Okay, so I'm gonna work to get a version of, unless anyone's opposed to it, on the agenda for both the Public Works Committee coming up and the Water Advisory Board coming up. And unless there's any opposition, I'm gonna give them the nudge to start prioritizing things that fall within their lane.
Okay.
So I'll work with you and others between now and then to get that narrative for the things that I think fall in the public works lane and the narratives that fall in the water lane.
Mhm.
And then we'll do those first, and we'll start doing the narratives that fall in between.
Okay.
Any opposition to that?
No.
Okay, cool.
The next meeting for the committee is March 12th.
That's ICIP?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, at 2 p.m. here. Is everybody good with that? Yes.
Yeah, to Todd's point, I think we just need to start squeaking these people, so they'll just say, please give them some money, so they'll be quiet.
Let's try to. Things like a luncheon or something with the legislature on a quarterly basis or something.
Yeah, 100%. And that kind of goes to the comment that I brought up earlier. We can certainly invite them, but the other thing too is, without being, intrusive, but know where they're gonna be, know when the public engagements are, and be there. Just be there.
Back to one thing, because it kind of ties in that the county commissioners meeting yesterday is exactly one of the points that they brought up, is that next year they would, not that Clovis involvement is a bad thing, but they would kind of like to have a Portales event only, to where county, Eastern, and the city
100%.
all got together and hosted something for the legislatures, and kind of break away from Clovis to a degree. And as far as some type of appreciation of that. So I'll throw that out there.
Thank you.
And we'll add that to our timeline. So one of the things that Joe, Pat, and myself discussed, we had a lot of things on the table today. But you did see the timeline there, but the ICIP and capital outlay and legislative timeline will be developed. So we've got some milestones to hit between now and, say, that final submission date of February 2027, to include locking in, codifying our capital outlay requests, having our ICIP submission nested, defining our top 10 list in our trifold type of thing that gets nested, and then to start those critical engagements. Make our own engagement place, i.e. Dinner, luncheon, whatever, and also understand where the other one's gonna be and make sure we're there. To make that happen very, very efficiently, we have to work diligently to develop and understand a common operating picture. And that's what I mean when I go back to, if someone asks the mayor about what would you do with $1 million? And someone asks, you know, wastewater treatment facility employee, what would you do with $1 million? That, what comes out of either employee or representative's mouth should be very similar. When we get at the right fidelity of doing things well, we should all have a similar message if someone asks us a question. Does that make sense? If we're out in different directions, the feedback people will get will be divisive. If we have a common operating picture and we understand those types of things, what's the next most important thing to the city? What's after that one? What's after that one? It will not only look unified, but we'll be unified. And whoever has the message opportunity at the time will convey the actual message to the city. And I know that's gonna launch us forward with funding opportunities and other things as well. That's my comment.
Thank you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're good. I just, you mentioned something about feedback from the legislators. And I've been curious this, and I had a conversation with somebody a while back about that. What is the protocol for feedback from legislators? Do they talk to you? Do they talk to you? Is that my job? Is that the mayor's? Who gets
You,
feedback?
We usually have an event, the chamber, after the session's over, the chamber usually has an event where the legislators come here and they talk about what happened during the session.
Excellent. Yeah, good.
Also, why things didn't get done.
Okay.
So.
Good. I didn't know that.
Or you can-
Didn't know if you-
I'm sorry, cut you off.
oh, I said, sometimes you can reach out, you
Yeah,
know, via
100%.
email, that type of thing. They want to hear from us.
Yeah, a few months back, now it's not exactly a legislator per se, but when the city didn't receive a TPF or grant.
Mhm.
You know, Joe and I called and said, hey, can we set up an appointment and figure out why we didn't get it? Not mad at you, we just want to understand, so we know how to get better next year.
Matter of fact, one of those events where I met Ian.
Is that right? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, so in the spirit of that, one, to your question, I don't know, but Councilor Merrick, it sounds like you do know. And so let us be clear and ask the chamber if that event is planned. And if it is, we'll fall in on that. And we'll be ready to ask the right questions at the right times.
It's usually a luncheon.
Yeah, we need to be where they are. I mean, that's just, we have to approach that all.
You can share. That'd be great, because right now I feel like we don't know what we're doing wrong. How do we improve, or it just,
Yeah, you know, we want the wins. We know that. But we want to learn from the non-wins to move forward. And it's often no fault of ours. It's just there's not enough money to go around. You know, and when someone says, hey, you were this close, did we do anything wrong? No, you were just this close. That tells me reapply with the same thing. But in our letter of justification, because Joe has to put in there, why are you applying for this? The city needs it because of this. This is what will happen if we don't get it.
Mhm.
And by the way, we applied for this and didn't get it last year. And those things, I believe, you know, just the human aspect, they become compelling when someone looks at it and they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how everybody feels, but I know when I shortchange, you know, one of my grandkids gets 10 M&Ms, the other, here I go with the Scottism, and the other one gets 9. I know the other one, you know, the other one 11 next time, right? So there's that human element to that.
But when funding's limited, it becomes cyclical. So if you
Sure.
get a big amount this year, you're probably not gonna get a big amount next year. And so we have to get that rhythm and apply it.
And I talked to some of the legislators last year about the unused funds that are out there. A lot of those projects were just what we were talking about earlier, where they have a large project. They requested money and they were awarded a phase of it, but they didn't have the money to follow through. And then it never got sent to them for the second phase, so
Yeah.
it didn't get spent and it's still sitting there. Or they had almost like matching fund grants that were given to them and they couldn't come up with the matching funds.
That's horrible, yeah. So I would argue to your point, at this level of our efficacy, in Portales at the minute, I would be a much stronger champion for putting on our top 5 or 10 list, things that we know we could execute. I'd rather execute 100% of our allocations, even if they're smaller,
Yes.
than miss one large one.
Mhm.
You know, let's get good at our scale. And then we will incrementally get better at the things. As a
Yeah.
small city who's not doing awesome at financial management, if we take on a big thing and we don't get it done, we're gonna set ourselves back. And you will learn what more can win for, because you'll be out of that bar.
And I will say that to that point, that is very, very true. And DFA did put out a couple of grants
Yeah.
that they were hoping to help fund those projects that didn't get fully funded. And you can't count on that every year. So that is why it is so important to do what Mr. Mitten is saying, because you can't count on them saying, oh, well, we have this over here, so we're gonna go ahead and throw this out there just so everybody can finish it. They may not have that next year.
Talking to one of the cabinet secretaries this session, they're planning on doing a sweep of a bunch of unused funds
Mm-hmm,
and sending it to workforce solutions or
mm-hmm.
what they're calling a small cities assistance fund. So for a lot of different positions, so I don't know if they have plans for doing that for other things as well. But that's what they're telling me.
Well, keep in mind, they can't hang on to it, right? I mean, there's laws of that. None of these are for-profit agencies, so when they exceed the amount of money they're allowed to hang on to, they have to find a place to put it. Let us not be part of the problem that forces them to put it somewhere just to put it somewhere. Let us be part of the solution that lets them put it in the municipality where it's supposed to be.
To Russell's point, I don't know if this is an Eldenism or a Mittenism, but you know, this is about doing something wrong. I think it's not a matter of that as it is some people are just doing it better than we are. And I think Scott hit on something a month or two ago when we were talking about this might be one of those rebuilding years, and we're putting together a different kind of team here and trying to build up the team, much like Bryles is doing. And so that's what it's an issue of. I think we can get more awareness. It sounds like we're on that path. So Scott is not even close.
No, you're doing awesome, right? I'll get you through the rest. I'll coach you. You're not to the
Not to that level.
not to the father-in-law's truck.
Coach.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out, and let's I'll send out some emails and everything about the SharePoint, and then we'll keep going with everything back and forth.
I'll get
If
on those
everyone can do
agendas and I'll work with you to get the narratives for all those little projects, and we'll be moving forward.
That sounds great. And I'll let everybody know which ones it is that looking at the narratives going, huh? I'll let you know. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.